Viki, the Mind Body Food Coach. Today we are not on the Mind Body Food couch, we're actually on Tanya Bartolini's couch. So I'm here in Brisbane with the lovely Tanya. Thank you for having me today. And we are going to have a little chit chat about her book. Now I want to show you this book. It's called Blending the Cultures. And this is a book that Tanya's put together with a lot of love and heart. And I'm going to let Tanya tell you her little story on why she's put this together, because why I wanted to share it with you guys is because everything to do with mind, body, food, how we nourish ourselves in all those ways is really important to share on how we go about it. So for those of you busy working mums particularly, listen up. Today's episode will be very beneficial for you. So thank you for having me. And if you wouldn't mind, could you please tell everybody watching what your story is?
Okay, well thank you. This is a fantastic opportunity, and yeah, I have a story like everybody has a story or a journey, I think, you know, to or a path that you take, and this was it's a labour of love, absolutely. It was the last thing I think I ever thought I would do in life. So to go back to the beginning and wrap it up quite quickly, I left school and I did a cadetship in accounting. At the time, I remember I lived in a really small town in far north Queensland. I loved it. I didn't want to leave home. I didn't want to travel the hour and a half, you know, south to uni. And I was fortunate to be offered the ability to work and study. So I did and became an accountant. And quickly realised the accounting world wasn't for me. You know, I loved constantly being with people and interacting and chatting, and you know, I then went from that into another great opportunity in Townsville, which was with a large bank and institution, and getting into the world of financial planning and finance. And it was, at the time, it seemed, you know, a natural progression into a role that allowed me to interact with people a lot more, and it gave me a new challenge. And when I look back, I was always very ambitious. I think it started in the early years of high school. I always just had this benchmark or this need to achieve, and it wasn't a need that anybody else put on me.
No, it's really not, is it? It's like a self-driven one. I've got to prove I'm good enough or that I can do this.
Yeah, and you know, my parents were still saying to me today, Tanya, where does it come from? Because we didn't do that. Like, we didn't, you know, they never for 1 minute told me I had to be something or do something. It was self-driven. And I spent all up in the accounting and finance world, which at the time, you know, I loved it. It was about 14 years. And I fell pregnant with my first child. And
This was in 2012?
This was in 2011. I fell pregnant with Mitchell. And I remember I was corporate. I was career. And I was pregnant, which I wanted to be. But I had no idea how the two would work. And basically my thought process at the time was, this child will have to fit into my life. My life is what it is, and I'm a career woman, and it will just work and it will fit. Anyway, finally, when I looked through my life and looked through what I did in my spare time, the biggest passion for me and how I uncovered it was my relaxing time. What did I do to calm me, to stop me? What was that happy place? And for me, it was food and it was cooking. And you know, looking back, it always has been. I can remember being, you know, 5 and sitting at the kitchen bench and rolling gnocchi and, you know, chatting with mum and dad about life and what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Quality time too.
Quality time, absolutely. And learned a lot of really good life skills in terms of how to be in the kitchen and cook and enjoy it and love it.
Great cooking skills that a lot of kids miss out on these days.
Oh, absolutely. And don't get me started on that bandwagon. You know, I'm extremely passionate about teaching the children to cook. And even if they don't love it, just the basic life skills. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, so we sort of fleshed that out a lot more, and another big part of me was family and my Italian background. So my dad was born in Italy and migrated, and I grew up in an Italian community in North Queensland. And how that came about was my first trip back to Italy, and consequently the second for me was a feeling of I'm home, and a feeling of calm that I'd never got living here. Ever, especially in this life of mine that was at 100 miles an hour.
Which is quite interesting, because I think a lot of us associate Italians with such vibrant, happy people, and they love their food. That's what I love about, I've never been to Italy, but that's what I love about, the cultures of people from Italy and Greece and those. Yeah, because they really celebrate food, and they make time to, make it a full-on event and love it. And that's always really interested me.
Yeah, and
so calm doesn't really come to mind when I think of that. No. But then again, they make time to, take a little siesta afterward. And,
Italians are two extremes. We're highly, highly, highly passionate people that, if you go to Italy, they drive at 100 miles an hour, and they're, extremely...
sounds like Bali, driving.
Extremely illustrative and, really open, and then you get this other extreme, which is this just calm appreciation for...
Slow?
Correct.
Yeah?
Yeah. Some things are so slow and some things are so fast. They still stop for lunch. They stop.
That's great, because lunch is like the biggest ability for metabolism in the middle of the day. It's a little known fact that when the sun is at its apex in the middle of the sky at lunchtime, that is when your digestive engines are completely revved. That's when we're really wired and geared to chow down on a meal and have optimum digestive ability.
Yeah.
So
and that's the
fantastic.
biggest meal of the day.
Yeah, they've got it down pat. There you go.
Yeah.
Let's all go to Italy.
Yeah, live like that. Wouldn't it be lovely? But yeah, no, it's it was just this sense of belonging that I have, and Australia is my home, and I love it dearly. But it was a sense of belonging that I don't even have here.
So something resonated with you, with the culture of...
It was family, it was culture, it was history, it was the culture, the everything.
So what was that like in relation to food, though?
Well, it resonated through so many different things. I mean, the food was one of it. It was the simplicity. Their appreciation for the simple things and how to take something so simple and make it taste so amazing. You look at this and I go, one of my cousins, I said, Bruno, what's in this? And it was just basic ingredients. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever put in my mouth.
Yeah.
And partly because I think it comes back to a lot of what you talk about at times is being mindful and stopping. And I know when I was there, you stop, you eat, you sit around the table with family, and you appreciate what's in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's it's been an amazing experience having that a part of my life.
So what brought you back down to earth after this trip to Italy? And recognising what your true passion is in relaxing.
What life actually is all about, what it means to live a simple life and enjoy it and have that feeling. And it's very hard for me to describe. It's just this feeling of belonging and knowing that is that feeling that I want all the time. And I had my son, and like with anyone that's had a child, it's life-changing. And it was funny, I got home from hospital and my head was still, what's happening at work? What are they doing? What am I missing out on? And I can remember being into 4 months of maternity leave thinking, I don't know who I am without that job. I was completely and utterly lost.
Yeah. And I think this resonates with a lot of people, because they're particularly women, but also men who stay on a path that they may not necessarily have consciously made the decision to follow, but something that they thought they should do, or that was appropriate, or that would be a good career down the track, and eventually get to a point where they realise, I put all this time and energy into this job, this this relationship, this and that, and I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And I really left feeling very, very empty, very overwhelmed, and kind of stuck. Like I don't know myself, I don't know what I need, I don't know who I am, and I'm really out of touch with what I need in life, what I'm passionate about.
Absolutely.
So you discovered that from this whole
Yeah.
journey from identity of being on corporate to a sort of a limbo for a little while there after
Yeah.
you gave birth to, I don't know who I am without being corporate.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't. And at that point, I started work. It was about 6 months into my leave that I started work on the book. And I was actually meant to go back to work at 6 months. That's all I was taking, was 6 months maternity leave. And I ended up, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition. And I was very symptomatic. Couldn't get off the floor, so fatigued. I was falling asleep with my son while he was lying on the floor, and joint pain really severe. And I made a decision then to extend my leave because I knew I wasn't functioning properly, and I knew that going back to that world of 100 miles an hour, on top of being unwell and having a family now, that pressure would get too much for me because of I put so much pressure on myself naturally.
Yeah, we generally do that. The pressure that we feel the most is usually from ourselves.
Yeah, I've always been my own worst enemy. So the book was about, at the time, taking those feelings that I have for Italy and family and food and capturing my family story. So as my grandparents aged, they started talking more about their life in Italy through World War II. And they had never spoken about it up to that point, and up to my first trip to Italy. A lot started coming out after that. And I just kept thinking, my son's not going to know this. He's not going to know what Nonna Ida's gnocchi tastes like, or even how to make it if I don't capture this. And it was just tragic to me to see all of that lost, because as a first generation born Italian Australian, and then obviously Mitchell being the second, you can see through each generation some of these traditions are being lost. So the book was to be for my family, and it was, so what I thought out was basically to develop it into 3 parts. Part A being my grandparents' story, and they agreed to write their story down for me.
Oh, wonderful.
Which was amazing, and there was info in there that my brothers didn't know, my cousins didn't know, and then put in recipes of food that they ate through the war, which was very, very limited.
Yeah.
And then part B was about growing up in an Italian community in Australia, and what it was like for Dad to migrate here and be sort of thrown straight into the school system. And then as a teenager, growing up in that community and what food we ate. And then part C was my story, and it was about how I ended up here in Brisbane and my trips to Italy and the food that I've developed over time based on my lifestyle.
Which is the blending of the cultures,
and the food that I ate in Italy, so a lot of my cousins' recipes and my interpretation of those.
Fantastic.
So that's where the title came from, because it's the blending of the Italian and Australian culture, and whether you're Italian or Chinese or Greek or whatever it might be, we all have a very similar story.
Yeah, everybody has a story.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was writing that while I was on leave. I don't know that I ever thought I could create this though. At the time it was just for my family. I went back to work in January of 2013 and I lasted 2 weeks.
Haha, there you go. Corporate girl, there is hope for you.
2 weeks. I lasted 2 weeks for a number of reasons. Ones I could control, ones I couldn't control, but I made the decision very quickly to exit, which is not the old Tanya. I would have persevered through it. I would have pushed through it. I wouldn't have exited so quickly.
But as you discovered, and as people say to you when your life changes when you have a child, parenthood changes you. Your life turns upside down, and it is one of those pivotal moments in life when we start looking at the choices that we've made up to that point, and if we want to continue to make those choices, and how that will affect our children.
Yeah.
So life does. It does change, and and move in a different direction when children come along. And you know, sometimes you might want to stay on the path that you're on, but you just simply alter it and make room.
Yeah.
And other times, like you've discovered, it completely went in a different direction.
Yeah.
So that direction led you to create the kitchen bench.
I launched the kitchen bench, my website, as a means to let people know about the book and share that. And then realised that I just loved sharing my food and my recipes and what I was cooking, and you know, developed a following. And then decided that, you know, once the book launched and you know, it's been successful beyond I could have ever hoped for it to be, and decided to do more. And that's when I have launched into creating Cooking for Change, which I'm about to launch in April this month. Because, again, it's the same thing with the book. It was like, if I publish this and make it available, maybe I can help change people's lives. And now it's the same with Cooking for Change. You know, if I can take the tips and the tricks and the tools and the resources and everything that I'm learning and I've learnt, and encourage more people, you know, busy working mums and dads, to get back in the kitchen, cook with their kids, create their own family stories, and put good nutritious meals into our mouths, then I'm doing a good job. Yeah.
So congratulations on the success of the book. If you want to go and check out Tanya's website, it is www.thekitchenbench.com.au.
Yes.
Yep. So you can go to the Kitchen Bench. If you're interested to have a look at Cooking for Change, it's a membership site that's launching soon in April. So you'll be able to go there, have a look and see what you think, if that interests you, or get in touch with Tanya if you want to, you know, talk Italian recipes and things like that. Or you can also go to the Facebook page, and I think you share quite a lot of recipes on there.
Yeah,
everybody.
Absolutely.
And great photos too. You take some fantastic photos of food.
Learning.
Yeah. So thanks for having me today. Thanks for sharing your story with all the MindBodyFood viewers. And everyone, I hope that you found some kind of inspiration from today. And, you know, if nothing else, if you've listened up and learnt to follow your passion, or had a little bit of awakening or a bit of an insight, yeah, what am I doing with my life? You know, I'd rather be doing this, or I know I'm really passionate about that and I'd love to go down that direction. Then, you know, hopefully this story will inspire you to do exactly that and to follow your dreams, make them reality, just like Tanya has. So we will see you next time. Remember, you are the most important person in your life, so please take care of you on a daily basis and be kind. See you next time.